Okay, welcome to the third part in the video series for using the MicroCore system. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and prepare all of the data that was just captured with the MicroCore system so that we can process it. So that includes generating focus stacks and generating the overall panoramic. So as you saw before, what we're going to do is just navigate to the folder or the directory that I had before. So they were stored in Active 2D. We'll press Active. And then what we're going to do is go down to the tree core panoramic. So there it is there. Remember the first set of images I told you to separate out. So there's a 1 there. That's going to contain the first set of photos in that folder there. Now, like I said, I was going to let it run so that we get a set of 3 total images. But realistically, you're going to let this run through until the entire core sample is finished. It would have been 65, meaning a total folder count of 66. So in this case, what we're going to do is go back to the folder where it was storing all of the subsequent images after we took away the first focus set. That's here. And one of the things you could do is just confirm how many photos are in it. So Control A. So remember what I said is that each set, what we were doing is we set the interval to 100. And what that means is that the servo moves 100 times. That doesn't mean that it takes 100 photographs. So for example, if you were to set that to 2 steps, what's going to happen is picture, step, picture, step, picture. So you're going to end up with 3 total pictures when you program 2. So because we set it at 100, we're actually going to have 101 total photos per folder or per frame that we're going to use for the panoramic. And you can check that by hitting Control A on all the folders, moving it, and just figuring out. So you can see that's a total number of 202. That means 101 images per folder. So that's correct. So what we want to do is go right back to the tree core panorama, and we're going to open up this program here called Directory Split. What you're going to do is you're going to navigate to the folder of interest, which again is the tree core panorama, the 2000-0101, and you're going to hit OK. It's going to ask you how many items would you like per folder. In this case, we want exactly 101 photos, so we want 101. And then you're going to press OK, and then it's going to say OK. So if you go back into this folder now, what you can see is that in each folder, there's 101 images. And in the second folder, for some reason there's 99. Maybe it didn't actually select them all. So what you can do is just move those two. Well, actually, one's 212, one's 312. 212, one's 312. So for some reason it didn't take the front and back, but this is an easy enough fix. What you can do again is just really, you could just move those files right over. So what we're going to do is just move 212 and 312, which both should be over here into that folder. Okay, so a real quick update. Because that last directory splitter didn't work too well, I went ahead and found 2 that do work much better. One is for Mac and one is for PC. So in order to get to those, you can just go to macroscopicsolutions.com, hover over the first tab with Macroscopic Solutions and go to the Downloads section. And then if you just go down to the bottom, these are the 2 splitters. So if Folder X is the best one for Windows, that one basically works without a hitch, and same with Folder Splitter, which is going to be used for Mac. If you click on either of these, it'll take you to the appropriate link to download. Anyways, hopefully that's a good fix for you, and let's proceed with the MicroCore tutorial. The next thing you kind of want to do is clean up the data. You don't need to do this, but it speeds up post-processing. So we know that these images are the ones that are in focus. So what we can do is actually take the back half, and remember we overshot it because we just want to account for any variation as we travel down the wood core. But what we're going to do is just delete these excess files. We know that they're out of focus, so they're just going to slow down processing. So we'll delete those, and we'll go back, go to folder 2, we'll delete those, we'll delete those. one of the things we could do is take these folders, we'll just rename them since we already have the other one. Actually, initially, if what you do is set this to 0, you just set it to 0. That way these two folders can just go back into the main folder. And now you have 0, 1, 2. And theoretically, you're going to have folders 0 through 65. So what we're going to do now is we're going to delete that folder, which is empty. We can go to the 0, do the same thing if we didn't already. Yep, just delete, again, the images that are out of focus and not going to be used for the stack. And now what we've done is we've now prepped all these folders to actually process. So what we're going to do now is just change the desktop to the app where I have Zerene Stacker open. If you're not familiar with Zerene Stacker, that's this icon here. This is the program that you use to stack your data. So what you can do to get this started is actually do a batch process. And what that's going to do is it's going to stitch together all the photos for you. So options, and just in case, again, you haven't set this program up yet, these two, brightness and automatic order, are going to be enabled. You want those off when you first use the program. And you also want to just make sure your memory usage is set up to your current computer. So what you can do is just go to memory usage and set automatically and accept the current settings. And then you can restart now. What that's going to do is just open Zerene Stacker again. So that's done. So now what we want to do is finish up with what we were doing before. So we'll go to options, or I'm sorry, batch, and show batch dialog. Here what we want to do is we want to add a project. So what we'll do is delete those. Actually, the best thing to do is just drag and drop. So what we're going to do is go back over here. I've got this folder, active 2D, active, and we're going to go to the tree core panorama. We're going to click on all three folders, drag them directly to that area. The next thing we want to do is we want to save all the output images in its own folder. So what you can do is create a new folder called final. So there's your final. And then you want to save in the designated folder that we just created. So desktop, active 2D, active, tree core panorama, final, and save. Then you want to add what you're going to be doing. So we're going to align and stack all PMax, press OK. And then you just want to save the batch to queue. Now the other thing you want to do is just kind of click on it, make sure, sometimes it gets a little messed up, just make sure your folder's good, PMax is good, and all your data is good. It all looks good, so now we can start to run. So we're going to run the batches. So now this is going to take each focal stack, it's going to stitch together the images, and then it's going to create 3 total output images. And if we were doing the entire core, it would have created 66 total output images that we use in the panoramic. So what we can do is just sort of close this dialog, and you can watch the progress. This is going to start to stack. The image on the right is going to be your composite. The image on the left is going to be the current image that it is working on or processing. So we'll just give this a couple moments. What I'll do is I'll sort of speed up the video play, and then you can watch this process through. Okay, so now the batch execution is done. What I'll do is just open up the final folder. Okay, so now what you want to do is open up Photoshop, and what we're going to do is stitch together these 3 images. So what you can do here is go to File, Automate, Photo Merge. The first thing you want to do is insert the files. So you'll go to the tree core panorama, Final, you'll highlight these 3, press OK, and you don't want to do an automatic or any of these. They will all distort the frame. So what you want to do is click on Reposition, press OK, and then what that's going to do is it's going to take all 3 of those photos, it's going to analyze them for consistent areas, so areas of overlap, and then it's going to generate a panoramic. Now you should be able to do this with all 65 frames, but if it doesn't work with all 65, if your computer isn't powerful enough, you can do it in batches. So do 5 frames at a time, then generate and save file output images, and then you want to stitch together those. So you can do it in pieces as well. But there you go. So now what you do is you have your panoramic. You can clean it up a little bit just by setting up a crop when it's all done. And that is your completed tree core. So again, this is just of 3 images just for test to show you how it's done. Typically you wouldn't be using just 3 photos. You're going to use the entire tree core. But for the most part, that is the process for capturing and then processing your final output image of a total tree core. Anyways, thank you very much again for choosing Macroscopic Solutions and for tuning in for these videos. If you do have a MicroCore setup or a MicroCore setup, I hope you enjoy it. If you need anything, please never hesitate to contact Macroscopic Solutions directly. Thank you very much.